This is Daytona Beach.
Now, more of Mark Bernier Replay Today. Highlights of today's show recorded earlier on FM 93.5, AM 1150, WNDB.
John LeBoutelier is a former member of Congress. He's a columnist for The Hill, and he is the co-host of the podcast, which is Revolution _ the podcast. He's joining us now live today on WNDB's Mark Bernier program. How are you, John boy?
I am well, Mark. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Baseball first. The champions, the Houston Astros. What a victory for the city of Houston. Thoughts on this World Series that gave us a lot of excitement?
Best 7 games. The whole postseason for all the teams were great. By the way, you realize 3 of the teams that made it into the postseason fired their managers afterwards. The Yankees with Girardi, the Washington Nationals, which won 95 games 2 years in a row with Dusty Baker, fired him, and the Red Sox fired John Farrell. It's unbelievable.
I guess the pressure on managers is different than it was a few years ago. And Dusty Baker, like the other two, I'm still trying to figure that out. What else could Dusty Baker do that he didn't do? He wins 95 games. That's not bad.
Not bad, 2 years in a row. I mean, is it his fault that these guys don't win these first-round games when it's 3 out of 5? I mean, he might have made a mistake or two. I don't know. I remember there was something in one game out in Chicago that was weird. But generally, I can't blame him. And he's 68, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure Dusty will get another job. Yeah. Girardi will definitely get another job. Not sure he wants one this year, but he is a hot commodity as a manager. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised he sits out a year or two. Joe Madden is done. When he's done in Chicago, that Girardi might go there, maybe.
Okay. All right, let's talk about the president's pick for Fed chairman today. Do you know much about him? We do not.
Nothing. No, nothing.
Now, he was appointed by Obama. I have to wonder, how much and how involved does the president get in these nominations, or is he just taking advice from staff?
Well, definitely taking advice from staff. The odd thing about the Federal Reserve is that it's really not a government agency. So the president does nominate someone for the chairmanship and the governorships and all that, and then they're confirmed by Congress. And once that's done, they're independent until their term ends. Unlike the Supreme Court, which has no term, or federal judges, there is a term. Janet Yellen's term is coming to an end, so Trump gets to pick a successor. But after they're put in there by Trump, they can do basically whatever the hell they want to do, and the Congress has no say on it. And the president has no say. And this was done 104 years ago. The system was created to keep politics out of monetary policy, which is what the Fed does, So,
but
I have no doubt this guy will be fine. I don't think it's a problem.
But boy, what an important position. Because if the Fed chairman just sneezes, the Dow could jump up or jump down.
Yep.
So you got to have a steady hand.
A steady hand, and then you have to be very reticent about what you say at these hearings and in public appearances, because you're right. I mean, a sneeze or a statement that can be misinterpreted can rock the market right away.
Let me roll back to what just happened in New York a couple of days ago. Are you familiar with the area of this lunatic who drove down this path, taking out bicycles and people, 8 dead, more than 15 injured? John, what can you add to this painted picture?
I can't add much. I mean, I don't know how we're going to stop these kind of things, because it's not like regulating guns, which the left is obsessed with. Here, you go out and rent a truck, which you can do. And if you have a commercial or the right kind of license, I guess you can rent a truck. He takes the truck. He just mows people down. He thinks that's a good thing. How do you stop that? I don't know.
I thought de Blasio and the governor and the police chief were pretty lame at the press conference. There wasn't a call of outrage. They were telling people to do, and I hate when they do this, You have a city in shock. You have dead people. You have scared people on Halloween, and they're telling people to go out and shop and to go to a parade. I don't get that.
I was in New York, and it was a mess in New York when that thing happened. It was in the daylight. It was in the afternoon. It hadn't gotten dark yet. And, like a lot of fog of war things, you don't know right away what's the truth. Are there two incidents? Is there an incident of, because it was reported as two incidents, some guy driving a truck into a crowd, which is one incident, and then there were shots being fired, and I wasn't even sure if it was the same incident. And everybody's talking about it, and the traffic got terrible, and people were worried, how are we going to get out of the city? Are they going to close it down? Are there conspirators? Turned out, I guess, there aren't or weren't. It was just this one guy. But New York, it's a huge place, New York, but the terrorists seem to want to hit here more than anywhere else.
Let me move to domestic policy. The GOP tax plan will dramatically lower the cap on widely used mortgage interest deductions to newly issued loans totaling no more than $500,000, down from the current $1 million. It will also immediately slash the corporate tax rate to 20% from 35%, eliminate deductions for state and local income taxes, cap property tax deductions at $10,000, and leave unchanged the popular 401k retirement savings plan used by many Americans. Paul Ryan says the plan, the most ambitious attempt to overhaul the tax code in generations, will save the average American family $1,182 a year, which is chump change. I don't even know how they figure it out. John, we've had our own accountants go over this plan, and they've left gaping holes in it. Is this thing likely to survive and be passed?
Well, something is likely to survive and be passed. Now, what happens is this is the first shot of it. They roll it out today, and this is the best it's going to sound. Once the lobbyists and the congressmen get their piece at it, their bite out of it, it's going to look different in a couple, 3 weeks. I don't think it's going to get passed before Thanksgiving. Maybe they have some way of ramming it through the House by then, which I think is a mistake. I think they should let it get looked at properly. What is the rush of doing these things? Why not do them right? But Trump and the leadership have this thing. They want this thing done this calendar year. So something will get done eventually. I don't know what it'll be. Some of those things you listed off are not going to last. You're not going to get, for instance, Republican congressmen from New York, of which there are several. They will not vote for removing the deductibility of state and local taxes. They'll get slaughtered politically if they vote for that thing. Here in New York, we're a high-tax state. We have to be able to deduct that.
That's why I don't think that survives. Do you think that survives, John?
Survives. No, I don't. As I said, I think what you heard today is not going to be the final product, and it doesn't have to be. It's a bargaining position.
Okay. We're opening the phone lines up if you'd like to talk with John as well at 239-0033, AT&T star 1150. Checking in on Shop Talk. Laura Ingram's new program debuted this week. I hear the numbers are good. I hear the performance is good. It's a little past my bedtime to do Bennett and Bernier the next day. But she had Clarence Thomas on, which was, I think, a booking move. That was a genius move. She was a clerk for him. What are you hearing, John? Have you looked in on the show yet?
Well, by 10 o'clock at night this week, I've been watching the World Series every night. And it's a little late for me these days, too. I have not. I think I looked at 5 minutes of it or something. I've seen Laura on TV for so many years. She's a solid TV person, and I think she'll do fine. I don't think she's going to be a terrible problem. I think she'll be fine.
Yeah, I agree. Looking to entertainment news for Chuck and I in the morning, we scratch our heads trying to determine if we're going to even cover much of this every day, more and more. Kevin Spacey, Mark Halperin, the list goes on. There's more Hollywood stars. Dustin Hoffman's name came out today. I think for Kevin Spacey, I don't see how he comes back from this. I don't think he can recover from this story that was kept under wraps for 30 years. And, John, that's what's bothering me, that a lot of these things are 10 and 20 years old, and now it's simply a feeding frenzy. What do you make of this? Is this being media driven, or was it that were these kept secrets? What do you make of the whole thing?
Well, I mean, it's become an epidemic of revelations. It obviously really got going again with Harvey Weinstein a month ago, and O'Reilly and the $32 million paid to Lee's Wheel, and those two new revelations. And there have been earlier ones on Ailes and O'Reilly and Bill Cosby and Trump and all the others, but this time it's a wave of them that has eaten up. The defense minister of England quit because of touching some woman's knee. Kevin Spacey, you mentioned. Dustin Hoffman's apologized. Jeremy Piven has denied it. I mean, my God, if any guy did anything, women are coming out of the woodwork and getting an audience now for saying it. And Mark Halperin, who I watch every day on Morning Joe and read in his books and all. I don't know that a lot of these people can ever come back from it. Now, I'll give you a good example. Chris Ruddy, who you know of or know, who was a 16-year-old volunteer in my first campaign in 1980. Now, he starts and owns and runs Newsmax. And Newsmax, which a lot of your listeners read and have read over the years, they have Newsmax TV. And he is contemplating hiring Bill O'Reilly to be the anchorman, centerpiece of Newsmax TV.
Really?
And I told him, I said, it's a double-edged sword if you take O'Reilly. You'll definitely get attention, and he will bring an audience with him. But the downside of it is there will be more trouble getting sponsors and boycotts and outrage against Newsmax because of what O'Reilly's already done. And lurking in the background are there other women who haven't yet come forward? And do you really want to take all that on? And so Chris is meeting with O'Reilly in the next few days to see if they can make a deal.
Can he afford him?
I don't know.
I
don't know. It was in the paper yesterday. That's why I bring it up.
Well, I know that Sinclair, which is a huge company.
They said they don't want him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's an article in the paper today said they don't want him.
It's probably the liability is too high for Newsmax. They probably had nothing to lose. I just didn't know that they had the cash flow unless, O'Reilly's just looking to get on the air somewhere and he parks himself there for a year and then ends up back on network television somehow. I thought O'Reilly was going to come back until the $32 million deal came out, and then I said, guess that's the end of that.
I know. I just think, I just think that, first of all, I think in life, if you treat people badly, it comes back to haunt you. So I know O'Reilly a little bit. He's not a nice guy. He's very unpleasant. And forget the sexual harassment part of it. He just treated a lot of people like dirt at Fox. He's just very officious and dismissive and condescending. He's generally not nice. And people like that in the long run, I don't think it works in life. I think nice guys do finish better off than bad guys do. And I have no doubt, just by looking at him, Harvey Weinstein's a jerk. And most of these guys are jerks that do this stuff. Now, in defense of Kevin Spacey, he has a brother who gave an interview in the paper the other day. He lives in Idaho. He's a Rod Stewart impersonator and a comedian, I think. And he's got a different last name. His name is Fowler. I think that's their real name. And he said that he and Kevin Spacey, their father, abused them as children like you wouldn't believe, and that Kevin Spacey is so damaged by what their father did that Kevin Spacey has no emotions. In order to survive it, that kid, as a kid, he just got rid of having emotions.
Wow.
And now, if you hear that, now if you believe that, right? I mean, if your father is sexually abusing you as a young boy and beating you and all, don't we have some understanding of what that does to you as you become an adult? I have two first cousins who had a stepfather who used to put them in a closet. This is when they were like 5 and 7 years old. He's their stepfather. He put them in this closet and go in there and kick them and beat them. And they are now, 55 years old, these guys, and they've told me each about it. And they are damaged, Mark. They're damaged. They're great, but they're a little off. That wasn't sexual abuse. That was just physical abuse. But if you've been sexually abused as a child, I can't imagine how that screws up your life.
We've got one person who wants to speak with you so far at 239-0033, New Smyrna Beach. Let's conference Mike now with John. And Mike, you're on WNDB. Your question for John LeBoutelier.
Thank you, Mark. John, I don't know how much you know about Donna Brazil's new book that came out today, I guess, but I was listening to Rush Limbaugh. He was reading excerpts from it, and from what I can tell, she has pretty much thrown everybody in the Democratic Party under the bus. My question to you is, other than money, what does she have to gain from doing this? Because I don't think she'll ever see the light of day again in politics after this.
Well,
what do you make of it, John?
Question. Well, first of all, I've always thought that Donna Brazil is a completely honest political person. We may not like her left. She may be left-wing, whatever. I don't care about that as much as I think she's a good person. And what she has said in this book is that Hillary, in effect, bought the Democratic nomination and that it was rigged. And on Political Insiders, which isn't on anymore, but when it was on, Pat, Doug, and I, during the Iowa caucus in, it was February, because I was with you, Mark. I was with you the night of the February caucus a year and a half ago when Hillary barely beat Bernie Sanders. And the next Sunday on Political Insiders, Pat Cadell and I both said, we don't believe this is true because we think Sanders won that thing and they didn't announce the winner properly, because that caucus is not run by the State Board of Elections. It's run by the State Democratic Party. And the state chairman out there in Iowa then was a Hillary person. And there was all sorts of funny stuff going on that night about releasing all the numbers of each caucus. I think that's what Donna Brazil was getting to, that thing with Wasserman Schultz in Washington, various party people around the various states, rigged it for Hillary Clinton to win. That, in fact, the voters picked Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah. And, I have to agree with your assessment. When I talked to Donna Brazil, I always felt like I got an honest answer. I think she was I didn't agree with her policies. I didn't agree with some of her arguments. But I will say that I thought Donna Brazil brought professionalism and class, but she went off the rails, I guess, and they trotted her out of her own party's leadership. I'm not sure whether it was over Wasserman Schultz. I forget now what happened. I think it was the inside information she had, wasn't it? Did she leak to CNN? Did something caused her to leave?
Yeah. Well, she was in on the conspiracy against Sanders. That's what it really was. And
what
they
it was.
Finally blew her out at the convention. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was disappointing.
Well, let me say it in a bigger picture thing. Is this nice caller asked, what's Donna Brazil, what's her future in politics? Her future, first of all, is back on TV somewhere doing political analysis first. Secondly, she probably recognizes the Democratic Party is done. They're done. Obamacare ruined the Democratic Party, and it didn't ruin Obama. He got himself reelected. He's sailing off into the sunset. But obviously, they lost the House and then the Senate because of it. They lost state houses, governorships, everything, and I don't see them even getting back to where they were. Even if the Republicans, who are now on the verge of causing themselves a lot of trouble, if they do deteriorate, the Republicans, I don't know that the Democrats pick up that slack. I think they're greatly damaged. I think we're entering a period in our country where the two major parties are self-destructing. They're ripping each other apart. Both of them have had civil wars inside. Bernie Sanders versus Hillary is a good example, which we just talked about. And the establishment Republicans versus the Tea Party Republicans has been going on in the Republican thing. And I think we could wake up in a year or two and honestly say that both parties are moribund or virtually dead.
Both parties are virtually dead.
Both. Yeah, and why wouldn't they? People don't trust the parties anymore. They don't trust it. And you look at France, they had two major parties there for years. And last spring, this new guy comes along, 39 years old, Emmanuel Macron, runs against both major parties, wins. Then in the parliamentary elections a month later, he runs a new party that he started called On the March, and they win a majority of seats in the parliament against the two established parties like the Republicans and the Democrats. I think we're headed there in this country where screw it, I don't like either party anymore. I'll try this,
Is there a certain amount of disgust that has crept in that may have many people sitting home for the midterms?
Well, I'm glad you brought up the midterm. Midterms are a different animal because of who votes. And I use a little saying about the midterms, the passion differential. Which side is more ticked off usually wins the midterms. And the Democrats are white hot with anger at Trump, at the Republicans, at us for wanting to get rid of Obamacare. They got a lot of things they're mad about. Our side, the people who like Trump, I don't think they're going to come out and vote in the same numbers as they voted in the presidential race a year ago. I think in midterms, they're not that angry. They like Trump. They say, we won. We've got Trump in there. Some of them aren't going to vote. And if it's just 5% differential, if 5% more Democrats vote than Republicans, boom, they win a lot of seats in the House. And they only have to win 24 next year, and they take back the House of Representatives. So I think the passion differential, as of today, favors the Democrats for next year.
This is interesting to watch as people are scrambling. They did polling, apparently in Indiana, the home state of Vice President Pence, where he has suddenly soared through the roof. I think he's a very crafty politician. Someone speculated to us yesterday, and I think it was Ellen, that she could see a situation where maybe if the president gets tired of things, he uses an illness or some reason and he resigns, and then Pence slides in as the vice president. I know egos aside and the wearing this must be on the guy. Do you even see this as a possible scenario that the president would just throw it in and say, you know what, I've had enough of this?
Well, who knows? But I think that the only way a president is going to quit that gig is if the alternative is worse. Now, Nixon quit because he knew he was going to be impeached. And he'd been reelected a year and a half earlier with the highest electoral vote margin in history. And here he is in August of 1974. He's got 2.5 years left as president, and it's clear he will be impeached and removed, and so he does quit. He's the only president we've had who ever quit. I think Donald Trump's the same way. He's not going to quit unless he knows it's going to be bad for him to stay. He's not going to quit. There's no health issue. That guy's as strong as can be. I don't think it's any of that. I think it's this scandal, this Russia thing.
Yeah.
If it gets bad and it implicates him, then maybe that would happen. But
all right, with 30 seconds before we leave, what's on the next podcast?
Well, we just taped it today. It's about where we go for the next couple of weeks while Trump goes to Asia. What's Mueller up to? What's the next shoe to drop? Is it Mike Flynn? Is it Kushner? There's more coming. This thing's only going to get worse.
All right. John won't be listening. Revolution _ the podcast and reading your material at the Hill. John, thanks so much. Great talking with you as always. Stay in good health, and we'll visit in a week.
All right, Mark. Thank you.
More of Mark Bernier Replay Today. Highlights from today's show that you may have missed. Coming up on WNDB.
An important message about Medicare. Florida healthcare plans can make you a genius. Attend one of our seminars. They're open to everyone. Get your questions answered. Choose the best Medicare plan for you. A $10 gift card will be provided to attendees who are Medicare eligible with no obligation. A salesperson will be present with information and applications. Seminars are conducted at convenient times and locations, so when it comes to Medicare, play it smart. For more information and a schedule of seminars near you, or for accommodations of persons with special needs at sales meetings, call, click, or drop in anytime. Call 1-855-GO-TO-FHCP or visit FHCP.com. Hours 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. 7 days a week. A salesperson will be present with information and applications. Florida Healthcare Plans. Genius! Florida Healthcare Plans is an HMO with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in Florida Healthcare Plans depends on contract renewal.
Earnings vary based on your effort. Message and data rates may apply.
Do you want to learn how to make money flipping houses right here in Daytona Beach? If so, we have an amazing opportunity for you. We're looking for a small group of motivated individuals to join our real estate investing team. You'll learn our simple 3-step system for flipping homes right here in the local area. This is Than Merrill, star of A&E's hit TV show Flip This House. My team and I are looking for a handful of people in the Daytona Beach area who want to learn how to make money flipping houses in your spare time using other people's money. Daytona Beach is a perfect market for my system, and next week I'm holding a free 2-hour educational workshop where you will learn how to make money flipping homes and how to build long-term wealth with income properties.
To get 2 free tickets to Than's workshop, text LEARN to 99,000. Seating is extremely limited. Text in the next 10 minutes and you'll also receive a free copy of Than's Money for Deals Guide. Text LEARN to 99,000. That's LEARN to 99,000.
My abuela says she is happy.
Estoy muy feliz de que nuestra familia completa puede ayudar.
She is happy that Florida Prepaid has plans that let the whole family help save for college.
Mi nieto será el primero en nuestra familia que irá a la universidad.
Now I'll be the first in my family to go to college.
El haber decidido ahorrar temprano con Florida Prepaid es una de las mejores.
She says it's one of the best decisions she's ever made, outside of marrying abuelo.
Learn more today at myfloridaprepaid.com, because starting is believing.
Presented by La Mesa RV Center Incorporated, Florida, 4441 Orange Boulevard in Sanford. It's the Fall RV Show at the Pavilion at Port Orange. Now is your best opportunity to save on a wide variety of discounted new and used motorhomes, and fifth wheels. Top new names discounted like Fleetwood, Winnebago, and Tiffin. Plus huge savings on every used RV. Free parking and admission. Open daily from 9 a.m. to dusk. See RVShowUSA.com. The Fall RV Show at the Pavilion at Port Orange starts Thursday.
DaytonaHelpWanted.com salutes the Employee of the Month. The one employee you can't live without. The others, let's just call them Dave.
Dave, are you stealing from the vending machine?
No, Mr. Employee of the Month.
Well, your desk is littered with like hundreds of snacks.
I merely exposed a loophole by reaching my arm through the flap thingy. Does that sound like stealing to you?
Yes.
Granola bar?
If you don't mind hiring Daves, go to the national job boards. They may be free, but trust us, they'll cost you. We make it easy to post a job, and it's local, so you won't get spammed by faraway job seekers. DaytonaHelpWanted.com. Local jobs that work.
Attention all sincere patriot Trump-publicans. Are you getting fed up with all the fake news tearing down President Donald Trump's vow to make America great again? Well, help is on the way. Trump Talk Live brings a new voice to America's forgotten working class. Tune in Thursday nights at 7 to hear Vic Baker and Tony Ledbetter melt liberal lies from sea to shining sea on Trump Talk Live. Making America great again, 1 hour at a time. Paid for and approved by Republican Executive Committee of Volusia County.
Earnings vary based on your effort.
Do you want to learn how to make money flipping houses right here in Daytona Beach? If so, we have an amazing opportunity for you. We're looking for a small group of motivated individuals to join our real estate investing team. You'll learn our simple 3-step system for flipping homes right here in the local area. This is Than Merrill, star of A&E's hit TV show Flip This House. My team and I are looking for a handful of people in the Daytona Beach area who want to learn how to make money flipping houses in your spare time using other people's money. Daytona Beach is a perfect market for my system, and next week I'm holding a free 2-hour educational workshop where you will learn how to make money flipping homes and how to build long-term wealth with income properties.
To get 2 free tickets to Than's workshop, call 1-800-300-2330. Seating is extremely limited. Call in the next 10 minutes and you'll also reserve a free copy of Than's Money for Deals Guide. That's 1-800-300-2330. That's 1-800-300-2330.
This is Mark Bernier Replay Today. Highlights from today's show that you may have missed.
Our coverage of the authors of the Miami Book Fair are sponsored by Florida Power and Light and by Brown & Brown Insurance. My Mother Was a Freedom Fighter is poet Aja Monet's ode to mothers, daughters, and sisters, the tiny gods who fight to change the world, textured with the sights and sounds of growing up in New York in the 90s, to school on the south side of Chicago, all the way to the olive groves of Palestine. These stunning poems tackle racism, sexism, genocide, displacement, heartbreak, and grief, but also love, motherhood, spirituality, and black joy. Aja joins us now live today on WNDB's Mark Bernier program. Aja, thanks for being with us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Okay, so this is the story of going from New York all the way to Palestine. How is it that you made that switch to Palestine?
Well, I actually have been using poetry in ways to educate and organize our young people and using arts and culture. And so over the years, it's helped politicize me and learning about the Black arts movement, et cetera. And I got involved with a lot of grassroots community organizers in New York. And by virtue of that, I was introduced to some of the organizers who were organizing in Florida called the Dream Defenders. And they came out of, after Trayvon Martin was killed in Sanford, Florida, they were the ones that were really organizing, across the state, but particularly around this issue in Orlando, and then brought it to Tallahassee. And one of their members is Palestinian, and he also has been doing work for Black and brown people in the state of Florida, and it was his dream to always bring, organizers and artists and activists over to his homeland to learn about the ways in which state violence works in both places and how we're connected in our struggles.
When you made this writing, were you taking notes over a period of years and collecting the experiences and then crafting the prose based on the experiences?
In some regards, I think all the poems are from different time periods over at least the last, I want to say, 7 to 10 years. And some of them came very quickly and naturally to me, and I wrote them down very easily. And others were revisited after some time, looking over notes and things that I had written down or marked down. So it's essentially has there's different relationships to each poem and each story that it tells and how it came to be.
Was your mother actually a freedom fighter?
I think so. Well, the way I talk about my mother is the fact that she was a single mother in America, a Black woman who raised 3 kids on her own, and all the things that she had to endure to put a roof over our head, make sure we had health insurance, make sure we went to the right schools. Those things show up in the poems in the book, but I believe that most mothers, and the title of the book comes from a title poem, which kind of traces the history of women of color and their struggles to love, to live, exist, and be tender and raise up society. So I think that we live in a world, at least in a Western world, where mothers are often talked about as being these great, incredible people, but we don't really recognize all the struggles that they have to endure to exist and to be able to really be free.
Aja, did you witness genocide firsthand? Or your mother?
Well, in Palestine, I believe what I witnessed there is definitely genocide, and I think that there's definitely conversations or relationships to what's happening here in America. I would say is more closer to the links of the conversation around apartheid, but I think that it depends. I think the role of the poet is not to just take the literal aspect of words, but to also recognize the spiritual and the metaphorical aspect and nature of words, and that words have weight, they have a spirit, they have a power. And so for me, I think that there are many ways that we have, and I have witnessed the genocide of peoples, you know.
I realize this next question probably needs much more time than we have to explore it, but if someone were meeting you for the first time, as we are in this conversation, what is the basic thing that separates Palestinians from Israelis? Is it the land? Is it a core of their religious belief? What separates the two?
Well, I think that that's a far more in-depth, question for this conversation.
Right.
But I will start with is what I'll say is that we don't talk about, at least in our organizing, we don't talk about individuals. We don't talk about religion. We don't deal in the realm of spectacle or hearsay or gossip or any of those things. We stay very strict to the politics of the issue, which is that Palestinians do not have the right to dignity, freedom, and equality and justice, and so therefore the state of Israel is not a democracy. And we believe that that is the gravest struggle that we have to fight for, which is the right for Palestinians to exist and to have their humanity acknowledged. And the creation of the state of Israel happened with the complicitness of, Britain, America. The West is what helped create this state. So we are all very accountable and should be held accountable for the injustices that are happening to the Palestinian people. And so that's the biggest difference, is that Palestinians aren't free.
Is your mother alive?
Yes, she is.
Is she living in Palestine?
No, I'm not Palestinian.
No,
She's
is
based
she?
here in the States, but I believe in the solidarity and the importance of raising up other narratives, whether they are my own or not.
But your mother was a Palestinian?
No.
She wasn't?
No.
Okay,
No,
but she was a freedom fighter.
I think I just clarified for you how we got involved with Palestine, which is through organizing.
Right, organizing what, though?
Organizing communities of color in the state of Florida. I mentioned the Dream Defenders, who started after Trayvon Martin was killed in Sanford,
right.
Florida.
Okay.
And they're a community organization. I also mentioned that one of the organizers is Palestinian. And so the reason why we became invested in that struggle was because it was his life's mission to make sure that we were building connections to what's happening here in the States and what's happening there in Palestine.
Okay, and I apologize because we were only given notes. We do not have your book, so we were attempting to showcase without having the book in front of us, which is why I had to ask questions in this manner. Where do you make your home base? Is it Miami? Is it Central Florida? Where is your home base?
My home base is in Little Haiti, Miami.
Were you present during the Trayvon Martin hearings and all the things that were happening? Did you make your way up here, or did you operate your organizing from South Florida?
No, I wasn't able to make my way there. I think if you remember correctly, that was a nationwide uprising around what happened to Trayvon Martin. So a lot of us were in different places, and very much the case itself activated and really organized the country around that specific story and injustice with Trayvon Martin and his death.
Exit question. There's a book that it looks like the book jacket, maybe your mother. We're seeing her look into the future, so we're viewing her from behind. We do not see her face. It said, "My mother was a freedom fighter." Aja, where was that picture taken?
So if you read the poems in the book, there are several poems that talk about my personal upbringing and the things that I've come to know, and how I come to know about myself, my political awareness, all those things. And a lot of that comes from the fact that my grandmother was born and raised in Cuba and fled here to the States. And the things that I've learned about Cuba, things that I learned about her struggles there, and her longing to return, and, all these things that shaped who we are here in the States. So that picture is a picture by Carrie Mae Weems, who is an incredible woman of color photographer. She's very renowned for her portraits, particularly of women. And that portrait is from a series of Dreaming in Cuba, and it's this one portrait of her in the mountains of Santiago de Cuba, which is a lot of the region of where my family is from.
Will you be making a solo appearance at the Miami Book Fair, or are you part of a larger panel discussion?
I think I'm a part of a panel discussion. There's 3 of us, I believe. So we will be in discussion about writing towards freedom and what that means for each of us.
Very good. Andra Monet, our guest today on WNDB's Mark Bernier program. We will see you at the Miami Book Fair at Miami-Dade College as we broadcast live over that second weekend. Thank you so much for giving us your time today.
Thank you.
FM 93.5 and AM 1150 WNDB Daytona Beach. Proud to be locally owned by Southern Stone Communications.
They've rolled it out. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. House Republicans pushing their plan for tax reform, the first planned change in 3 decades. They say a family of 4 earning $60,000 a year will save $1,200. It doubles the standard deduction and expands the child tax credit, but limits deductions for state and local taxes.
With this bill, there's relief for real American families. There's relief for American workers, and there's tax relief for our hard-working job creators of all sizes.
Ways and Means Committee Chair Kevin Brady of Texas. Democrats aren't sold.
Today, House Republicans unveiled a bill that raises taxes on millions of middle-class families and borrows trillions from the future just to give massive new tax breaks to the wealthy and especially to their friends, corporate America.
House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi. President Trump names his choice for the next head of the Federal Reserve.
Passing over current Fed Chair Janet Yellen, President Trump nominated Federal Reserve Board member Jerome Powell as the next chairman of the nation's central bank.
He has proven to be a consensus builder for the sound monetary and financial policy that he so strongly believes in.
Powell, who must win Senate approval, will likely be seen as a safe choice who could represent continuity at the Fed. He's expected to continue Yellen's cautious stance toward raising interest rates.
Fox's John Decker at the White House. President Trump clearing the way for additional federal funding for Puerto Rico as the U.S. territory continues to recover from the devastation caused by Hurricane Maria. He's amending his earlier disaster declaration so that Washington will now pay for 90% of the cost of rebuilding, including repairing public infrastructure like hospitals, bridges, and roads, and the cost of rebuilding the island's power grid. Fox News, fair and balanced.
The huge credit bureau breach may have dropped off your news feed, but your information may not have dropped off the dark web. Once your personal information is out there, thieves can use it to steal your identity for months, even years after a breach. Fortunately, it's not too late to get protection with LifeLock. Sign up today and we'll begin using proprietary technology to monitor your personal information for threats, including new accounts in your name, money being stolen from your 401k, or your information being sold on the dark web. And if there's a problem, one of our U.S.-based identity restoration agents will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses, but with LifeLock, you'll know your identity is on our radar, even if the last breach is long forgotten. Go to LifeLock.com or call 1-800-LifeLock today to get 10% off when you use promo code NEWS. That's promo code NEWS. LifeLock. More detection, more protection.
The opinions expressed on this show are those of the participants, the hosts, the guests, and the callers, and do not necessarily reflect the opinions and views of Southern Stone Communications, WNDB Radio, its employees, and friends. Comments regarding WNDB's programming can be addressed to D. Lang at DaytonaRadio.com.
Live from Daytona Beach, Florida, bringing a voice to America's forgotten working class, speaking the truth for the America that Washington left behind, making America great again, 1 hour at a time. This is Trump Talk Live, where we the people have the right voice. Presented by the Republican Party of Volusia County. Here now are your hosts for this episode, Vic Baker and Joe Fieldus.
Greetings, fellow American Patriot Trumppublicans, and welcome to the Diversity Green Card Lottery Manhattan Massacre, Manafort Diversion. What really happened, Hillary? Tax Reform Rollout, Fable of the 10 Beers episode of Trump Talk Live, the home of fearless truth-telling about our transformational president and his unrelenting mission to drain the swamp, reshape the courts, get the IRS out of our pockets, and make America prosper again. Well, the media mission to destroy President Trump hit a major wall as we've learned that filthy, rich, crooked Hillary and the dead-broke Democrats conspired to pay for that phony dossier to smear Trump. In fact, Hillary now admits that she helped to pay for it. And Geiger counters are clicking like crazy over Hillary's truly treasonous collusion with the Russians, selling off 20% of our uranium rights for a big payoff. But then, here comes the conflicted special counsel Robert Mueller with indictments against former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort and a business associate, except the indictments have absolutely nothing to do with Russian collusion and nothing to do with Donald Trump or his campaign. How about that? Legal experts believe Mueller has nothing on Trump, so he hopes to squeeze Manafort to turn on Trump. Well, there's no there, Mr. Mueller, so give it up. Furthermore, your prior role as FBI director who fumbled investigations into widespread Russian bribery leading up to Uranium One calls your entire role into question. That and your close relationship with your dirty cop FBI successor, cover-up Comey, should lead to your resignation. All these months investigating Trump, and the only thing you have right now is weak money laundering charges from years before Manafort even met President Trump. Time to fold the tent. The Russian collusion delusion has been exposed as a giant Democrat Party mirage, a diversion to point us away from Hillary's role in smearing the opposition with Russian-fed crap and to sell our national security interests to Putin and company. Time to get measured for manacles, Mrs. Clinton. We might be able to get you adjoining cells for you and Bill, but that would be real justice. We've witnessed another ISIS-inspired terrorist attack now, this time in New York City, a short distance from Ground Zero. The attacker, an Uzbek immigrant who came to America under a green card diversity lottery dreamed up by New York's Chuck Schemer Schumer, an immigrant who sponsored 23 others to come along too. The American dream, right? Wrong. An American nightmare. This man is a die-hard Islamist terrorist. The NYPD had him under surveillance at his New York mosque until the mayor, Comrade Bill de Blasio, yanked the surveillance, and he was even under a suspicion with Obama's Homeland Security. But they cut him loose. The murders of 8 people and injuries of more than a dozen more were committed with a rented Home Depot truck. So what's the response from New York's clueless Governor Andy Cuomo? He wants tougher gun control. Yeah, you heard me. Gun control. It was done with a truck. How about truck control, Andy? You're shooting blanks as usual. So now, as the Manafort story eclipsed the real scandals involving the Clintons for a day or two, then the terrorism story overshadowed that sad saga, and finally today some good news from Capitol Hill. The GOP House finally unveiled details of its historic tax reform and jobs growth bill, promising to get it passed and signed into law by Christmas. Can we say Merry Christmas, America? The bill will give a huge tax break to middle-class Americans, simplify the code so most will be able to do their taxes on a postcard. Corporate taxes will drop from 35% down to 20%, benefiting businesses of all sizes. The new law will encourage businesses to relocate back to the USA, where we'll finally have competitive tax rates. You deserve a raise. You deserve a better job. Don't blow this one, Congress, or Trump Nation will clean house next year. We're coming to you live tonight from the studios of WNDB in Daytona Beach on camera. You can hear us on the radio at 93.5 FM or 1150 AM. And show the graphic of at TrumpTalkLive.com. You can listen to us live online at TrumpTalkLive.com. It's not on. There it is. And we are also on Facebook Live. Let's show the Facebook graphic. Go to the Volusia County Republican Party Facebook page to watch a live web stream of the show, which can also be seen by searching Trump Talk Live in quotes on YouTube at the Vic Baker channel. Now, let's see the cam now so we can show you our fill-in crew. The brothers Jonah and Joshua Scott, the Scott brothers from Seminole County, teenage Republicans, handling the graphic controls tonight. Say hello, boys. Our usual crew is seeing Vice President Trump tonight at the Statesman's Dinner in Orlando at Disney. Back on camera for me. I'm your fearless truth-telling Trumpublican Vic Baker, slicing through the festering pile of fake news with 2016 Trump-Pence Volusia campaign chair Joe Fieldus, standing in for Tony Ledbetter tonight, who's also soaking and basking in the glories of Trump world at the Statesman's Dinner in Orlando. Joe.
Good evening, Vic. Hello, friends. I wanted to talk tonight about the 25th Amendment, what it says and what it means. To do this, I'll reference a man by the name of Conrad Black. Mr. Black is a 73-year-old Canadian-born former newspaper publisher and author. He has written extensively about American history, specifically our political history. Here's an excerpt of what Conrad Black says about those who are still trying to overturn the November 8 election. Quote, "The never-Trumpers are now invoking the 25th Amendment. This indicates that they realize their impeachment movement has failed. The 25th Amendment provides that if the Vice President and if a majority of the principal officers of the executive departments and if 2/3 of both houses of Congress agree that the President is physically or mentally incapable of exercising his office, he shall be replaced by the Vice President. This measure has been invoked by Ronald Reagan once and George W. Bush twice, in each case when they were having colonoscopies, and only for a few hours. The idea that it could have even the slightest chance of being invoked and sustained against Trump is another indication of the almost suicidal desperation of those terminally infected by Trump derangement syndrome. The 25th Amendment is an insane step, as crazy as their effort to change the minds of Electoral College members pledged to Donald Trump." End quote. Okay, do you remember after the election that they tried to change the vote of the Electoral College? Tony Ledbetter sure does, because they hounded him day and night about it, and not just him. The whole faithless elector scam was intense. There were hundreds of thousands of emails and phone calls. Hollywood stars were enlisted to make video appeals. Martin Sheen was recruited to do his old TV President Bartlett act, explaining how great it would be if electors would just be faithless. They even created a so-called Hamilton Electors Club, which was pumped up by the media to give the whole thing a historic flavor. It was Looney Tunes, folks. But in the end, there actually were a few faithless electors, and it was Hillary who lost a few votes in the process. Looking back, the whole escapade reveals the sheer panic felt throughout the swamp last November 9th. They were very sure herself would win, and when she didn't, they instantly began dealing from the bottom of the deck. They still are. And now they're trying to weaponize the 25th Amendment. As we get ready for the 2018 election, here's the hard truth we face. The deep state, the permanent political class, the progressive Democrats and their bought and paid for media are not going to give this country back to us. We, the people, are going to have to take it back. Vic, let's roll.
Camera one. Okay, thanks, Joe. I would have to say to all that, Donald Trump is the roadrunner. All those Democrats and anti-Trumpers are Wile E. Coyote, and they should get their money back from the Acme Company because it isn't working, folks. It's never going to work. I would point out to you that as of tonight, the Senate today confirmed 27 Trump appointees, including 16 ambassadors and 11 other appointees. And Mitch McConnell has said he's devoting the rest of the calendar before the Christmas break while they wait for the tax reform bill to get passed by the House and sent to the Senate. They're going to spend their time confirming all of Trump's administration. So the dam is breaking, folks, and it's going to be flooding on the Democrats, and they cannot stop it. Now, saying ISIS lives forever, an Uzbek man named 29 years old killed 8 people with a rented Home Depot truck and injured 15 others, shouting Allahu Akbar in New York. He left behind notes and a flag pledging loyalty to terror group and appeared proud in his interrogation. In fact, we understand that he was requesting that they put the ISIS flag in his hospital room. What do you think the chances are of that? Now, President Trump hit Chuck Schumer, who, when he was a congressman from Brooklyn back in the 1990s, was the chief sponsor of legislation that created this diversity lottery, this green card lottery. We have a picture of Schumer there somewhere. And Schumer he said he opened the floodgates for these people to come in. At the very same time, we have the mayor of New York, Comrade Bill de Blasio, a few years ago when he came into office. He yanked the NYPD's stellar surveillance program that was keeping eye on these mosques that were harboring people with anti-American attitudes. One of the mosques was the mosque that is attended by the fellow that just attacked on a bike path in New York City. And that surveillance was yanked. So we ask ourselves, now we also have the lefty governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, saying it was a lone wolf attack when this guy clearly was inspired by ISIS, and ISIS is claiming credit. And the governor's running around shouting, we need more gun control. Gun control to stop a Home Depot truck? How does that work, Governor? That's ludicrous. So it's just stupidity. Now, Schumer didn't like what Trump had to say, but Schumer has to own it. Okay, now the president has ordered Homeland Security to step up extreme vetting in the wake of the New York attacks. He made some comments about that at his cabinet meeting this week.
All of America is praying and grieving for the families who lost their precious loved ones. Horrible act. Our hearts break for them, and we pledge to renew our resolve in their memory. My administration is coordinating closely between federal and local officials to investigate the attack and to further investigate this animal who did the attacking.
The president had some additional comments about moving immediately to stop the diversity lottery. We have graphics on that. That let this mass murder into America in the first place.
I am today starting the process of terminating the diversity lottery program. I'm going to ask Congress to immediately initiate work to get rid of this program. We want a merit-based program where people come into our country based on merit. And we want to get rid of chain migration. This man that came in, or whatever you want to call him, brought in with him other people. And he was the point of contact, the primary point of contact for, and this is preliminarily, 23 people that came in or potentially came in with him. And that's not acceptable.
The president's seeking justice for lives lost, and he wants the death penalty for this guy. Here's something else he said.
And we'll never, ever forget the beautiful lives that have been taken from us. That was a horrible event, and we have to stop it, and we have to stop it cold. We also have to come up with punishment that's far quicker and far greater than the punishment these animals are getting right now.
One more comment, Mr. President. Are we going to send this guy to Gitmo?
Send him to Gitmo. I would certainly consider that, yes.
And how did the diversity program fit into his plot, do you believe, sir?
Well, they say he came in through that program, so we'll see. We're looking at it, but they say he came in. Look, it's very simple. What we are demanding is merit-based immigration. We want people that are going to help our country. We want people that are going to keep our country safe. We don't want lotteries where the wrong people are in the lotteries. And guess what? Who are the suckers that get those people? And we want a merit-based system. And we do not want chain migration where somebody like him ultimately will be allowed to bring in many, many members of his family. And we don't want that.
We'll be back with more Trump Talk Live. There's a lot more, so stay with us. Stay tuned.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033. Stay tuned for more Trump Talk Live, speaking for the America the DC elites forgot.
We'd like to address the elephant in the room, or car, or wherever you are. That is, the topic of saving for college. Now, before you break out in a cold sweat, please know Florida Prepaid is here to help. We make saving simple enough that more than 30,000 families started saving with us last year alone. Every prepaid plan is guaranteed by the state of Florida, and we have plans for every budget. So what's your plan? Let us help you find the right one today at myfloridaprepaid.com, because starting is believing.
DaytonaHelpWanted.com salutes the employee of the month, the one employee you can't live without. The others, let's just call them Dave.
Dave, are you stealing from the vending machine?
No, Mr. Employee of the Month.
Well, your desk is littered with like hundreds of snacks.
I merely exposed a loophole by reaching my arm through the flap thingy. Does that sound like stealing to you?
Yes.
Granola bar?
If you don't mind hiring Daves, go to the national job boards. They may be free, but trust us, they'll cost you. We make it easy to post a job, and it's local, so you won't get spammed by faraway job seekers. DaytonaHelpWanted.com. Local jobs that work.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033.
Welcome back to Trump Talk Live. We went a little long on the first segment. We're going to go fast with some of the material we have. We have a fire hose on you, so just get ready for it. Rex Tillerson, Secretary of State. James Mattis, Secretary of Defense, went to Congress this week, and on the Hill they testified about the authorization for use of military force that was given by Congress to the president back after 9/11. And they said, don't mess with it. There's a reason why we were in Niger. We have the authority under that to go into Niger and anywhere else in the world. Don't mess with it. So we're going to hear a little bit from Rex Tillerson, who's explaining first what the authorization was about.
In the 2001 Authorization for Use of Military Force, or AUMF, Congress authorized the President to, quote, to use all necessary and appropriate force against those nations, organizations, or persons he determines planned, authorized, committed, or aided the terrorist attacks that occurred on September 11, 2001, or harbored such organizations or persons. Congress granted the President this statutory authority, quote, in order to prevent any future acts of international terrorism against the United States by such nations, organizations, or persons. The 2001 AUMF provides statutory authority for ongoing U.S. military operations against al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and associated forces, including against the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, or ISIS.
Okay, so from the Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, to Congress, you don't need to do anything else, Congress. We've got your back. Let us do our job. This we have already. Number two.
The United States has the legal authority to prosecute campaigns against the Taliban, al-Qaeda, and associated forces, including ISIS, and is not currently seeking any new or additional congressional authorization for the use of force. The 2001 AUMF remains a cornerstone for ongoing U.S. military operations and continues to provide legal authority relied upon to defeat this threat.
Secretary Tillerson explained that ISIS rose in Iraq and Syria after Obama's pullout from Iraq in December of 2011. It left a vacuum in the region. Cut 5.
Though a statement of continued congressional support would be welcome, a new AUMF is not legally required to address the continuing threat posed by al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and ISIS. Article 2 of our Constitution, the 2001 and 2002 AUMFs, provide sufficient legal authority for us to engage and defeat the current threat, which we are doing by working by, with, and through our allies and partners.
Okay, now that was Mattis saying the same thing. Both Mattis and Tillerson said to Congress, do not put any geographical limitations or time limitations on our pursuit of these terrorists, because they don't play by rules. We can't constrain ourselves. Well, enough said. Now, Nikki Haley, still doing battle for us at the United Nations, which passed a resolution condemning our trade embargo with Cuba and telling us to drop it. Nikki basically told them in so many words, mind your own business. You don't tell us what to do, the Congress does. John Kelly, Chief of Staff, interviewed with Laura Ingraham on her debut show this week, and he talked about a couple things. The president has an upcoming trip to China, or not China, well, I guess China's part of it, Asia, which is going to be very, very important. And here's this comment number 6.
First of all, he has great relationships with the leadership in South Korea, Japan, and China. And then, of course, a commitment to that region of the world to be involved. So he's going to build on those relationships, and of course we'll do 2 conferences, one in Vietnam and and we'll go to Hanoi to touch base with the national leadership there, and then go to the Philippines, where he'll meet for conferences, but where he'll meet the president of the Philippines. All of this is just to solidify relationships that are already pretty positive in my view.
So what are we going to do about North Korea? It's an ongoing threat, General.
What the president really hopes, and we all men and women of goodwill feel this way, is that the leadership, such as it is in North Korea, come to their senses, and with the help of countries like China, decide to denuclearize, give up their atomic weapons. There's no reason for them. They serve no purpose for that country. Just destabilizes a number of relationships, and obviously an ICBM program, there's absolutely no reason. But I don't think we can have a country like North Korea have a ICBM that can deliver a thermonuclear device on the mainland of the United States. They already have the capability to at least reach with missiles to the great American citizens that live in Guam.
So that's General Kelly on that. Now, turning to the issue of business from overseas, this is a product of Trump reforming the tax code. It's an early yield from this, as many other things have been, from his attitude toward deregulation and reducing the chokehold on business. A $100 billion semiconductor company based in Singapore will legally relocate its home address to the United States. Broadcom Limited manufactures communications chips around the world and may relocate its legal address to Delaware once shareholders approve the move. And that's bringing $20 billion in annual revenue back to the U.S. The president made the announcement this afternoon at the White House.
We're thrilled to welcome Broadcom Limited and its CEO, Hock Tan, to the White House to announce that Broadcom Limited is moving its headquarters from Singapore back to the United States. Broadcom Limited is a Fortune 100 company, one of the really great companies. They manufacture technology and parts. They employ over 7,500 American workers in many states across our country. We're looking forward to seeing that number grow very substantially, which is now anticipated.
Thank you, Mr. President. And back on camera. And we also got an announcement from the president today, Joe, that the president is not going to keep Janet Yellen at the Fed after February. When her term expires, it's going to be Jerome Powell, who is likely to keep policies friendly to business at the Fed.
Vic, the stock market keeps going up, and I keep reading how people are afraid it's a bubble. It's not a bubble. What's happening is that the people on Wall Street understand that the president has hung out a sign on America that says back in business.
That's exactly what he's done. Now, also, it was a day later than anticipated, but the House GOP rolled out its long-awaited tax plan today, which is pretty much what the president's been describing for us since March. And we heard first from Speaker Paul Ryan explaining the rationale behind this tax plan.
Today, we are taking the next step to liberate Americans from our broken tax code. This unified framework delivers a new tax code that is simple, that is fair, that is pro-growth and pro-family. Cutting taxes on hardworking Americans so that you can keep more of your own hard-earned paycheck. Simplifying the tax code so that you can file your taxes on a form the size of a postcard. Reforming our tax system so that businesses, particularly small businesses, can gain a competitive edge on our foreign competitors. And taking bold steps to bring jobs and profits from overseas back home to the United States of America.
That's a big deal, folks. We're talking about 4 tax brackets instead of 7. The 4 will be 15, or that is 12 25, 35, and they're going to keep the 39% for the very big income earners, and a zero tax bracket for people, couples making up to $24,000 a year. $1,600 tax credit for children, child tax credit for people for each child. So that's a huge break for working families, and they're going to phase out the death tax. There's going to be a lot of that, plus the corporate rate from 35% back to 20%. Now, in cut 3, Paul Ryan credits President Trump for making this happen.
And I want to especially thank President Trump for his leadership. To him, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that is all about more jobs, fairer taxes, and bigger paychecks for American families. For all of us, this is a now or never moment. The choice before us is really clear. We can succumb to the talking heads on TV and the special interests who want to maintain the status quo, or we can work together to seize this moment and do what the American people sent us here to do. We can rise to the occasion and write our own future.
And Kevin Brady, chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, has shepherded this through, and I think he's going to make it happen.
Vic, the speaker is absolutely dead on there. This is the linchpin of the entire Trump first term. This has to happen. I think the Republicans understand this.
I think they finally do. It takes a little while, a few beats over the head to figure it out. Listen to Kevin Brady talking about how simple it's going to be for a lot of people to file their taxes.
The Ways and Means Committee is ready to turn this framework into legislation that President Trump can ultimately sign this year. We're closer than ever to finishing what we started for the American people, for the middle-class workers and families, and the Main Street job creators merely struggling to get by today. This is our year to chart a new course, to provide tax relief to millions of middle-class families and those who want to be middle-class families, to help workers and job creators of every size and every community compete and win anywhere in the world, especially here at home, and to help to make the tax code simpler and fair so Americans can keep more of what they earn. So fair and so simple. 9 out of 10 Americans will be able to file their taxes using a simple postcard-style system.
Sounds good to me, folks. When we come back, we're going to stay on tax reform for just a little while so that Sarah Sanders can share with you the fable of the 10 beers when Trump Talk Live returns.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033. Don't touch that dial. More Trump Talk Live is moments away, where we the people have the right voice.
Earnings vary based on your effort. Message and data rates may apply. Do you want to learn how to make money flipping houses right here in Daytona Beach? If so, we have an amazing opportunity for you. We're looking for a small group of motivated individuals to join our real estate investing team. You'll learn our simple 3-step system for flipping homes right here in the local area. This is Than Merrill, star of A&E's hit TV show Flip This House. My team and I are looking for a handful of people in the Daytona Beach area who want to learn how to make money flipping houses in your spare time using other people's money. Daytona Beach is a perfect market for my system, and next week I'm holding a free 2-hour educational workshop where you will learn how to make money flipping homes and how to build long-term wealth with income properties. To get 2 free tickets to Than's workshop, text LEARN to 99,000. Seating is extremely limited. Text in the next 10 minutes and you'll also receive a free copy of Than's Money for Deals Guide. Text LEARN to 99,000. That's LEARN to 99,000.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033.
Okay, we want to thank our sponsors, Marino's Pizza in DeLand, the best pizza in West Volusia. Milne Roofing. Don't let raindrops fall on your head. Call Milne Roofing, 386-986-8688. Sonia More. Make her your State Farm agent. Ask Sonia for a insurance checkup. And South Daytona Storage and Offices, 386-262-1857.
We are grateful, as always, to our sponsors who support the Volusia County Republican Party and this show. Thank you, Joe. Now, Sarah Sanders is corralling the White House press corps, and she's acting like the school teacher showed up after the substitute had been there for months. And she's whipping these people into shape, and she's teaching them how it's done, and she's not taking the bait when they throw her the loaded questions. She explained tax reform to them this week in what I'm going to call the fable of the 10 beers. Let's listen.
Suppose that every day 10 people, for our purposes, we'll say reporters, go out for beer, and the bill for all 10 comes to $100. If these 10 reporters paid their tab every night the way we pay our taxes, it would go something like this. The first 4, the poorest, would pay nothing. The 5th would pay $1. The 6th would pay $3. The 7th would pay $7. The 8th would pay $12. The 9th would pay $18. The 10th, the richest, would pay $59. So that's what they decided to do. The 10 reporters drank in the bar every day and seemed quite happy with the arrangement until one day the bar owner threw them a curveball. Since you're all such good customers, he said, I'm going to reduce the cost of your daily beer by $20. Drinks for the 10 reporters would now cost just $80. The group still wanted to pay their bill the way we pay our taxes, so the first 4 were unaffected. They would still drink for free. But what about the other 6? How could they divide the $20 windfall so that everyone would get their fair share? These are the reporters after all, so they're concerned with fairness. They realize that $20 divided by 6 is $3.33. But if they subtracted that from everybody's share, then the 5th reporter and the 6th reporter, which would each end up being paid to drink beer. So the bar owner suggested that it would be fair to reduce each man's bill by a higher percentage the poorer he was. By doing that, he explained, they'd continue following the principle of the tax system they'd been using. So he proceeded to work out the amounts he suggested that each should pay now. And so the 5th reporter, like the first 4, now paid nothing. He got a 100% saving. The 6th now paid $2 instead of $3, a 33% saving. The 7th now paid $5 instead of $7, a 28% saving. The 8th now paid $9 instead of $12, a 25% saving. The 9th now paid $14 instead of $18, which was a 22% saving. And the 10th now paid $49 instead of $59, a 16% saving. So each of the 6 was better off than before, and the first 4 continued to drink for free. But once outside the bar, the reporters began to compare their savings. I only got $1 out of the $20 saving, declared the 6th reporter, and she pointed to the 10th reporter. He got 10. Yes, that's right, exclaimed the 5th reporter. I only saved $1 too. It's unfair that he received 10 times more benefit than me. That's true, shouted the 7th reporter. Why should he get $10 back when I only got 2? The wealthy gets all the breaks. Wait a minute, yelled the first 4 reporters in unison. We didn't get anything at all. This new tax system exploits the poor. The 9 reporters yelled at the 10th and made him feel bad. So the next night, the 10th man didn't show up for drinks, and the 9 sat down and had their beers without him. But when it came time to pay the bill, they discovered something important. They no longer had enough money between them all to even cover half of the bill. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how our tax system works. The people who already paid the highest taxes will naturally benefit from a tax reduction, but not the largest percent benefit. Taxing them too much, attack them, and they might start drinking overseas where the atmosphere is somewhat friendlier. This is a silly story, of course, but it illustrates some very important points. Our tax cuts and reforms will create a fairer system that works better for everyone.
And that, my friends, is the fable of the 10 beers. I hope it helped you to understand basic economics and tax reform. Joe, I think that was perfect. It took a little while, but sometimes these reporters are slow and you got to drag them along a little bit.
I invite everybody that's play that back if you're listening on radio or YouTube or Facebook. Play that back, and the wisdom of that little story will dawn on you, and it's like a new day.
Or listen to our podcast and listen to it over and over until you quite finally understand it. Now, IRS, John Koskinen, one of the most hated men in America, is gone from the IRS. The president has terminated his employment, and he is being replaced. So let's get a picture of John Koskinen up there.
Long
so
overdue.
See what that little pipsqueak looks like. The guy that lost Lois Lerner's emails and said, I don't know, and they were there all along, and who, obviously just kind of flipped the bird to Congress over all the IRS abuses. He's been replaced by a guy named Cotter. Welcome back, Cotter. Is the next one up? Kuatter. You got his picture? Cotter, right after Koskinen. Right there. Okay. And as it turns out, that's the new leadership of the IRS. And also, the next one, the Tea Party, the Tea Party got an apology from Uncle Sam for all the targeting that went on that was never admitted before, and a $3.5 million settlement, which proves that they were wrong. Justice finally prevailed, but except for the fact that Lois Lerner is still free and clear of any criminal charges.
A lot of people are not going to be happy till some kind of justice visits Lois's house.
Okay, speaking of criminal activities, Paul Manafort. We'll go to Manafort next. Paul Manafort, the campaign chairman for President Trump. He was campaign chairman from June through August. He was on the campaign from March up to that point. He took over to try to get him the nomination. That was the pure reason for Manafort being there, because he was a specialist in doing that. That was his role with the campaign. He's been indicted by Bob Mueller. The best Bob Mueller's come up with after months and months and months of investigating is that Manafort was involved in a $75 million money laundering scheme, 12 counts in the indictment, involving his activities in lobbying for Ukraine. We've got a map of the Ukraine. And it had nothing to do with Russian collusion, had nothing to do with the Trump campaign, had nothing to do with anything that Mueller was at first empowered with investigating. So, Joe, the only theory we have on this is that Manafort is his leverage, he hopes, because he doesn't have anything on Trump, and he's hoping Manafort will turn the tables, but it's not going to happen.
It's very weak tea. I've been reading about it. It's almost a victory for Trump. I mean, he did all this work, and he comes up with tax fraud and mail fraud from 5 or 6 years ago. It's unbelievable. Our friend Michael Goodwin of the New York Post has called on Special Counsel Mueller to resign. He said it this way. He says the conflict of his special interest. He was a former FBI director. It's morphed into a situation that it's a Gordian knot. He has to resign to fix it. It became obvious last week when events showed that any honest probe must examine the Obama White House and the Obama Justice Department. Mueller served as head of the FBI for more than 4 years under President Obama and cannot be expected to investigate his colleagues and bosses. He must resign.
Absolutely. Andrew McCarthy, former federal prosecutor, has written in the National Review, the Paul Manafort indictment is much ado about nothing except as a vehicle to squeeze Manafort, which is Special Counsel Robert Mueller's objective. Do not be fooled by the conspiracy against the United States on count one. This case has nothing to do with what the Democrats and the media call the attack on our democracy. Nothing whatsoever. There are 12 counts in all. But the two major allegations, conspiracy against the United States, mainly involves Manafort's and Gates' alleged failure to file Treasury Department forms as required by the Bank Secrecy Act. Specifically, Americans who hold a stake in foreign bank accounts must file what's known as a foreign bank account report in any year in which the balance exceeds $10,000. That's just technical gotcha crimes. And the fact is, according to Andrew McCarthy, there's not much here. And very rarely have they had successful prosecutions.
I'm going to throw a name out there for some of the old people who remember the Scooter Libby. This was a token prosecution. Scooter actually did get convicted of some various crimes of some sort that had to do with
lying to the FBI about the Valerie plane matter.
It was about the Valerie plane. It's a mess, but if anybody remembers that, this is very similar to Scooter Libby conviction.
The leaking was done by one of the neocons in the State Department. I forget his name.
Who admitted doing it.
But it wasn't Scooter Libby. I mean, Scooter Libby
farce.
It was a process crime once again. So, we've had comments. One of the great comments came from Mike Mukasey, who was in the final year of the Bush presidency, George W. Bush presidency. Mukasey was the Attorney General. Well-respected former federal judge. Here is what Mike Mukasey says about the Manafort indictment.
These indictments were, in a way, revealing in a sense of how small some of the beer is. The Manafort indictment, of course, was of activity that began well before the campaign, activity in which he and his co-defendant apparently were involved, as you've pointed out, didn't deal directly, didn't deal indeed at all with what is supposed to be the central concern of the special counsel, that is the question of whether there was or wasn't collusion, which in and of itself is not a crime, but in any event, that's supposed to be the focus of his activity.
Well, now, Judge, the special prosecutor did get a guilty plea back in October from George Papadopoulos. Sounds like you'd be a cousin of George Stephanopoulos. George Papadopoulos who was a low-level foreign policy advisor, a volunteer with Trump, and was not with the campaign very long. He got snagged on process crime, lying to the FBI, a la Scooter Libby, took a plea. They're hoping to use him, but he's so low level. He was trying to set up meetings with Russians, but the Trump campaign wouldn't have anything to do with it. They wouldn't take the bait. So I don't know what they're expecting to do with that.
I put out yard signs for Trump. Maybe they want me, Vic.
That could be it. So here's what the judge says about Papadopoulos.
So far as the Papadopoulos charge, to which he pleaded guilty, that was of making false statements about his the timing of his contact with some Russian officials and what. Or people who said they were Russian officials. And what's most striking about the recitation of facts there is how he was apparently trying to arrange contacts between the Trump campaign and the Russians and wasn't getting anywhere. And in the end, no meetings were held. In the end, no information was exchanged. In the end, the emails that were dangled in front of him the same way they were dangled in front of Trump Jr. Were never produced.
There you go. That's Michael Mukasey, former federal judge, former U.S. attorney. So Sarah Sanders at her White House briefing was asked about the indictment of Paul Manafort, and here's what she had to say about it.
Today's announcement has nothing to do with the president, has nothing to do with the president's campaign or campaign activity. The real collusion scandal, as we've said several times before, has everything to do with the Clinton campaign, Fusion GPS, and Russia. There's clear evidence of the Clinton campaign colluding with Russian intelligence to spread disinformation and smear the president to influence the election. We've been saying from day one there's been no evidence of Trump-Russia collusion, and nothing in the indictment today changes that at all.
Okay, now we're going to go to cut 4 next, Phil. The reporter was pushing this Russian collusion narrative, and Sarah slapped them down hard.
What explains the campaign's later involvement with those associated with the Russian government, or said they were, to get dirt on Hillary Clinton later in the campaign?
And we've addressed that. They took one meeting, nothing came of it. No, I don't believe so.
That does not indicate a pattern of trying to obtain that information from that government.
A pattern of getting information about your opponent. No, the big difference here is you have a meeting that took place versus millions of dollars being sent to create fake information to actually influence the election. You compare those two, those are apples and oranges. What the Clinton campaign did, what the DNC did, was actually exchange money. They took a meeting. Those are far different, and one is pretty common practice in any campaign to take a meeting. The other one is actually paying money for false information. That's a big deal and a big difference.
So thank you, Sarah. We'll come back. When we come back, we'll talk about the real scandal, Uranium One and the dossier.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033. We'll be back with more Trump Talk Live, restoring America's founding values 1 hour at a time.
An important message about Medicare. Florida healthcare plans can make you a genius. Attend one of our seminars. They're open to everyone. Get your questions answered. Choose the best Medicare plan for you. A $10 gift card will be provided to attendees who are Medicare eligible with no obligation. A salesperson will be present with information and applications. Seminars are conducted at convenient times and locations, so when it comes to Medicare, play it smart. For more information and a schedule of seminars near you, or for accommodations of persons with special needs at sales meetings, call, click, or drop in anytime. Call 1-855-GO-TO-FHCP or visit FHCP.com. Hours 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. 7 days a week. A salesperson will be present with information and applications. Florida Healthcare Plans. Genius! Florida Healthcare Plans is an HMO with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in Florida Healthcare Plans depends on contract renewal.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033.
Welcome back. Now, Hillary claims she didn't know about that dossier, that dirty dossier that had all that golden shower stuff about Trump that was made up with information from a Russian operative.
She lies, Vic.
She lied. Well, how can you tell her lips are moving? Well, then she finally last night on Trevor Noah's show, she said, yeah, well, I did pay for it. Okay, she paid for it, millions of dollars, in fact, but she didn't know anything about it. But she said it was perfectly all right because it was opposition research. This was fantasy. It was fiction, just like her autobiographical books are fiction. Now, Trey Gowdy had a few things to say about what he wants to know from Mrs. Clinton about what she was really up to. Let's hear.
The closer the investigation about real Russian ties between Trump associates and real Russians, the more they want to just throw mud on the wall, and I'm their favorite target, me and, President Obama. We're the ones that they always like to put into the crosshairs.
We've spent most of 2017 trying to better understand what Russia did to this country in 2016. Not to the Democrats, not to the Republicans, but to this country. So what we know is that Russia was not our friend in 2016. It's not that big of a leap to ask, I wonder if they were our friends in 2010. That's not that big of a leap. It wasn't Republicans who gave the reset button to Russia. It wasn't Republicans who said we'll have more flexibility in the second term. It was a Republican named Mitt Romney who said Russia was our greatest threat, and the Democrats laughed at him. So, yes, I do want to know if the same group that tried to sabotage our democracy in 2016 is buying uranium in 2010. Yeah, I want to know that.
Okay, so Hillary wrote a book called What Happened? Well, a dossier for starters, Hillary. A dossier is what happened. Are you kidding me, Hillary? Let's listen to the author of Clinton Cash, Peter Schweitzer. He was the one that first broke the stuff about this dossier Uranium One stuff, and he had some interesting things to say about how this all came about. Cut one.
Yeah, that's right. $145 million that we know about comes from a variety of sources, but it's basically 9 shareholders in this Uranium One company, guys like Frank Justra, Sergei Kurzin, and others. And there's a major story to be told there, not only about how this deal was approved, but how this deal was put together, and the fact that the Clintons made a lot of money by basically helping the Russians to corner the world uranium market.
That's Peter Schweitzer. Now, Dr. Sebastian Gorka has a few comments about the real collusion with Russia. Let's listen.
Again, the president was right. Let's just start with that. He was right that if there's any collusion, it's on the other side. Secondly, massively important point. This story is not about opposition research. This is about corruption. It's about collusion and potentially treasonous activity. Members of the Obama administration at the cabinet level, as there was an FBI investigation of racketeering on uranium by Russia in America, approved this deal. Hillary Clinton approved a deal that would give 20% of our uranium to a nation like Russia that supports rogue regimes.
Yeah, and Dr. Gorka, he's unleashed like Bannon now, no longer tied to the White House. Fusion GPS, he says, has been feeding a load of fake newscraft to the compliant anti-Trump media for a long time. And, he asked this question.
How many stories are out there in the media that came from Fusion GPS? This isn't the only story. They were working hand in glove with the liberal media. Fusion GPS was making stuff up about President Trump and feeding it to other journalists. The only reason we have Mueller investigating the president today is why? Because James Comey briefed the dossier to the president, and within minutes that was leaked to CNN. Right now, we have to have the AG cancel Mueller's mandate because the dossier was full of Russian propaganda from Russian agents and was fallacious. It was a lie.
You heard that. Okay, now back to Peter Schweitzer. The double standard, going hard after non-existent Trump collusion, the Russia collusion delusion, while ignoring provable treason by Hillary and company. Let's listen to Peter Schweitzer.
The problem with this dossier is not only is it inaccurate and wrong, but when it first came out, there was no corroborating or substantiating information. What you have with Uranium One and the Clinton scandal is you have the actual transference of money. Nobody disputes that all this money went to the Clinton Foundation. You have the decision made to give the Russians the uranium. These are facts that are not in dispute. What I think was so frustrating to people is when you look at this, if you're going to look at Russian penetration or attempts at collusion, you got to have the same standard. Now,
House Intelligence Committee Chair Devin Nunes says the Democrats are suddenly interested in viewing this dossier, the same document they didn't even want subpoenaed by the committee, but now it's all out there. And, of course, Joe, Donna Brazile has a book out now blaming Obama for bankrupting the Democrat Party and blaming Hillary for taking over the controls and running it into the ground.
The Donna Brazile story is on top of...
So they're throwing Hillary under the bus. It looks like they want to get rid of her fast and make her just go away.
The Democratic Party is trying to switch gears. They want the Clintons to go away, and they're going to make it happen.
Devin Nunes made the comment, and also he said, well, he was asked in an interview, what do you want to know about the Fusion GPS and the role it actually played in colluding with Russia to trash Trump?
Well, we have a whole bunch of questions about Fusion GPS. So there's a whole host. We want to know, were they being paid by Russians? Were they paying Russians?
Well, they have Russian clients. They said they separated, right? They separated the Russian clients from the Clinton DNC work. That's what they claim.
So they say, but look, we're investigating this.
Yeah.
We need the information. We have the FBI and other agencies who either didn't tell us who paid for the dossier or didn't know, which would be equally disturbing, but my guess is somebody over there knew.
That's Devin Nunes. Now, Cheryl Atkinson, who was a CBS News correspondent for a number of years, but CBS kept spiking all of her stories that were embarrassing to Obama, and she was spied upon. Somebody was hacking into her computers at home that she was using for work. Well, she wants to know why the FBI did not choose, to seize the computers from the DNC. Why they deferred to the Democratic National Committee and just didn't seize them. They don't play nice with anybody else. They didn't play nice with Manafort. Why didn't they just go after it? Well, we know why. We know why, don't we?
That's a key question she asked right there, and it's hanging out there, and somebody's got to answer it.
Exactly. Okay, we're back on camera, and then the president is getting a lot more of his judicial nominees and other nominees passed. 27 nominees were confirmed by the Senate today. Mitch is putting a fast track on it. He's making it happen quickly, so we're not going to get into that heavy.
That's a hugely important thing that's happening under the radar.
Well, the president did say this about it. Go to the cabinet image of the president, and the president did make this comment about judicial appointments in Cut 8.
We have many judges that are being approved at the district level, federal district judges and Court of Appeals judges. We'll have, at this moment, we'll be up to fairly soon the approval of 145 federal judges district, and Court of Appeals about 17 is at this moment. So we will have a big percentage of the court will be changed by this administration over a very short period of time.
Okay, so we have that all going on. At the same time, we've got George Washington's church in Alexandria, Virginia, where he attended for 20 years. Christ Church, Episcopal Church in Alexandria, Virginia, wants to pull 2 plaques memorializing his attendance there from the walls because it might offend somebody.
This was predicted. They're going after the founders now. The Jefferson Memorial, of course, George Washington. They want all these things erased, Vic.
That's right. And, of course, Robert E. Lee has a plaque in the church. They want that out, but they're lumping George Washington in with it because they were both slave owners. But George Washington, for crying out loud, he's on the $1 bill. I mean, he's the founding president of our country.
Well, they don't want that to happen anymore.
We're trying to judge these people by standards of 200 years hence, and it doesn't work that way. History is an evolving thing, and people need to learn that. One more thing, the NFL, the kneeling protest, the kneeling football league.
Going after the flag.
Pretty soon being the no football league because nobody will be watching it, no seats, no fans. You kneel, you take a knee, we won't take a seat anymore. Let's take a look at what Papa John's is saying. Papa John's CEO, John Schnatter, said during a conference call that the NFL was to blame for their slipping sales. The NFL has hurt us, he said. We're disappointed. The NFL and its leadership did not resolve this. He's referring, since Papa John's is the official pizza company of the NFL, Schnatter says the league is bringing pizza down with it.
Now, I have heard that Papa John's actually pulled their sponsorship.
Well, that may be the case, but this is what I pulled up today. In any case, I think it won't be long before that happens. We are blessed to have the opportunity to talk to you each week. We're blessed to have Joe Fieldless to be able to sit in when Tony's not here, because we're blessed to have the Scott brothers here to help us. We've got a crew of teenage Republicans that keep us running with the graphics. We really appreciate it. We're going to see you next week on Trump Talk Live, and our podcast is free on iTunes and Google Play. See you next week.
My abuela says she is happy.
Estoy muy feliz de que nuestra familia completa puede ayudar.
She is happy that Florida Prepaid has plans that let the whole family help save for college.
Mi nieto será el primero en nuestra familia que irá a la universidad.
Now I'll be the first in my family to go to college.
El haber decidido ahorrar temprano con Florida Prepaid es una de las mejores.
She says it's one of the best decisions she's ever made, outside of marrying abuelo.
Learn more today at myfloridaprepaid.com, because starting is believing.
You've been listening to Trump Talk Live, making America great again, 1 hour at a time. Follow us at Volusia County Republican Party on Facebook or go to our website, TrumpTalkLive.com, for updates. Join your Trump-Publican hosts, Vic Baker and Tony Ledbetter, for another fearless edition of Trump Talk Live next Thursday at 7 p.m. right here on WNDB 1150 AM and 93.5 FM. Trump Talk Live is presented each week by the Republican Party of Volusia County, where we, the people, have the right voice when it comes to defending America's founding values. In God we trust. In America we believe.
The Republican Executive Committee of Volusia County is responsible for the content of this advertising.
FM 93.5 and AM 1150 WNDB Daytona Beach. Proud to be locally owned by Southern Stone Communications.
Pushing the plan. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. House Republicans laid it out earlier today. Vice President Mike